Welcome, everyone, to this discussion on a hidden chapter of West Michigan's past, Holland's secret role in the escape network.
Wow, it's amazing how a small town like Holland had such a profound impact, huh?
Absolutely. It's like a quiet hero that almost slipped through mainstream history, right?
Definitely. I mean, we're talking about a network that literally risked everything.
Yeah, and you know what's fascinating? Holland's strategic location on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan. It's like nature lent a helping hand to those in desperate need.
Right. Being that natural crossroads meant that escaped slaves could move north more seamlessly, either heading for Canada or northern states.
Exactly. And think about it. Folks coming from Illinois, Indiana, or southern Michigan could use Holland as a sort of pit stop. They'd traverse through the
Yeah.
area, often crossing into Ontario via the Great Lakes.
That's a huge geographical advantage. It must have required so much local knowledge and courage on the part of the people there.
Definitely. And speaking of local values, the original Dutch settlers, especially those with deep religious convictions, really set the tone for community support. Those Reformed church members didn't just talk the talk, they walked the walk.
It's remarkable to consider that, despite the risks, these settlers opened their homes, barns, and even churches as refuge spots.
Yeah? And it's like they embodied their ethical and religious principles in a very real, tangible way. You know, some of them even helped map out safe routes and coordinated with other abolitionist networks.
True, but I wonder, do we have concrete proof of all these details? I mean, oral traditions are powerful, but aren't they sometimes a bit embellished over time?
That's a fair point. While a lot of evidence is steeped in oral histories and later testimonies, it shows a consistent theme of secret courage. In fact, there are stories about barns with hidden compartments and even wagons
Yeah.
with false bottoms.
Those hidden features really paint a picture of ingenuity, don't they? Like, folks knew they had to think outside the box, sometimes literally, to keep freedom seekers safe.
Exactly. And it wasn't just spur-of-the-moment decisions. These were calculated moves, often taking place under the guise of ordinary life, all while the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 loomed large.
Imagine the stakes. Helping an escaped slave meant risking fines, imprisonment, or worse. It's surreal how determined people were to stand up for what was right.
Absolutely. It was about more than just defying the law. It was about upholding a deep moral conviction. And the fact that we're still talking about it today just shows its lasting impact.
And did you know that Port Sheldon, just west of Holland, also played a role as an escape launch pad?
Yeah, Port Sheldon is super interesting. It served as an alternative route, a launching point across Lake Michigan. For some, when land routes were too risky or crowded, taking the boat was the clever alternative.
That's fascinating. It makes you think of it as an intricate web of options, each tailored to the situation at hand.
Exactly. It's like an elaborate puzzle where every piece had to fit perfectly for someone to make it to freedom.
Yeah, indeed.
The routes might have been less direct, but they were engineered for survival.
And all of this happened in a culture of deep secrecy and sacrifice. The risks were enormous, but the commitment was unwavering.
Right you are. People hid in plain sight, transforming barns and church basements into life-saving hideouts. It's like each safe house was a tiny fortress of hope.
Yet there's a whisper of sadness, too, in the realization that these acts were done under constant threat of detection.
True. The constant fear of bounty hunters and the legal punishments under the Fugitive Slave Act cast a long, ominous shadow over everything.
Yeah. You know, some might argue that these town stories have become almost legendary, possibly romanticized over time. Would you say that detracts from their historical importance?
That's a good challenge, but I'd respectfully say no. The absence of grand battles or famous speeches in these accounts doesn't lessen their significance. It actually emphasizes the power of quiet, collective courage.
I see what you mean. Less about grand gestures and more about everyday heroism.
Exactly. And now, in more modern times, there are genuine efforts to recognize that legacy. Local historians, educators, and even church groups are actively trying to recover and preserve these vital stories.
That's wonderful. It's so important to remember that history isn't just found in textbooks, but in the lived experiences and sacrifices of everyday people.
Right. And while the physical evidence might be scarce because secrecy was key back then, The oral histories and historic markers serve as potent reminders of that courage and resilience.
And it offers an extra layer of depth to our understanding of the Underground Railroad, showing that it wasn't just a chain of famous routes, but a broader, interconnected network that required a lot of trust and personal risk.
Yeah, it's a testament to the human spirit, being ready to risk everything to help a fellow human being. It shows that even small communities can contribute significantly to larger transformative movements.
It's a really powerful narrative, but I do wonder, could the modern recognition of these sites inadvertently simplify the complex history, reducing it to just monument tourism?
That's a thoughtful concern. While there's always that risk, I think the intent behind these efforts is to educate and inspire, not just to create tourist hotspots. The aim is to honor the true spirit of sacrifice and courage.
Right. I agree, though sometimes modern approaches can overshadow the nuanced realities of the past if not handled with care.
Absolutely, and that's where historians and educators play a crucial role, balancing remembrance with an accurate portrayal of events. It's imperative we don't just romanticize the history, but also critically engage with the complex realities these communities faced.
Exactly. And bringing these stories to light also challenges us to reflect on our current values and what we're willing to risk for justice and freedom.
Yeah, it's like looking back to see how far we've come and what remains to be done. In a way, these hidden histories serve as reminders of the quiet battles fought by ordinary people.
Right. And it emphasizes that impactful history isn't always about large-scale battles or loud proclamations. Sometimes it's in the subtle, steadfast acts of bravery that fundamentally change the course of lives.
Well said. And as we continue to probe and preserve these narratives, let's remember that Holland's legacy is a shining example of how a community united by faith and courage can create pathways to freedom, even in the darkest times.
A truly inspiring reminder that history often hinges on the quiet acts of defiance and compassion, not just on grand, dramatic moments.
Exactly. And so, reflecting on Holland's hidden network in West Michigan, we see that small towns and small acts can indeed ripple out to create monumental change.
All right, what an enlightening journey through history this has been. It's a conversation that really makes you appreciate the layers of courage and complexity behind each historical footstep.
For sure. And thanks for this engaging conversation. It's been truly fantastic unpacking these stories with you.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining me on this exploration. Until next time, keep questioning and reflecting on the past as we shape the future.